This is our first ever webinar on our digital parenting program. This is a courtesy of Kenya Film Classification Board and Google. I believe we have many other partners that we'll be talking about later on. So without any further ado, I believe our CEO is already coming. Our CEO, Dr. Ezekiel Mutua, he is here. Yes, he is here. So I'll just quickly introduce the Kenya Film Classification Board side of the meeting. We have some of our colleagues here who are part of our Kenya Film Classification Board Digital Parenting Program. We have Emma Irungu, head of the Broadcast Monitoring Unit. Emma, are you there? Okay, thank you, Emma. Nice to see you after a long time. We have Joel. I'm not too sure if Joel is here. We have other colleagues on board. They'll be helping with the social media. They'll be picking your questions and all that. But I don't want to waste any time. I'll invite our CEO, Dr. Ezekiel Mutua, to give his opening remarks. Then we will move on. But before Dr. Ezekiel gives his remarks, Michael, you want to introduce your side? We'll have Evelyn introducing their side, and then I'll invite our CEO to officially come and give his remarks. Karibuni sana.
Thank you very much, Nelly. My name is Michael Muronge. I work with Google in Government Affairs and Public Policy in East Africa, based here in Kenya. And I'm very pleased to be here today. Well, we at Google, we believe very much in not only building safety features into our products, but also in enabling our users with the education about the tools and the knowledge they need in order for them to effectively use these tools that enable them to navigate the internet safely and responsibly. And by users, I mean not just parents and guardians, but also our young users, the children. We also build partnerships because we believe we can't do this alone. Partnerships that help us build and drive the education and awareness about our safety features. And two of the partners we have in Kenya in that regard, apart from the Kenya Film Classification Board with whom we've partnered on this initiative, is Code IP Trust, an NGO, Content Development and Intellectual Property Trust, that is led by Alex Kakuru, who is the executive director and is on this call. He is our lead in Kenya for our online safety engagements from the time that we launched our online safety Web Rangers program in 2015, and to all the trainings we've done and all the collaborations that we've done up to now. I want to acknowledge and thank you, Alex, and his organization for that. And most recently, Evelyn Kasina, who is the CEO of Eveminet Communications and is an expert on online safety, especially for young people, and is one of our lead trainers, who is going to be leading this training. And I want to pay particular thanks to Dr. Ezekiel Mutua and his team at the Kenya Film Classification Board for this collaboration, which is one in several engagements in which we are involved to make sure that the online space, as far as Google is concerned, is safe and secure, especially for our young people. So I'll end there now and pass over to Nelly.
Okay, thank you very much, Michael. So as you hear, we are collaborating with Google in this and in many other programs, but mainly today we are here for the digital parenting program, or rather parenting and the internet. Without any further ado, I'm going to invite our CEO, Dr. Ezekiel Mutua, who will give his opening remarks and will tell you about our mandate and exactly how Kenya Film Classification Board is connected to clean content, protecting children, and the digital parenting program. Welcome, sir. Unmute, sir.
Oh. Thank you, Nelly. Everybody can hear me. Good afternoon. Thank you. Good to see you, Evelyn. I can see Emma. Emma, how are you? Good to see you. Michael, fantastic. Good to see you. I have not seen Alex. Is Alex Gakuru with us? Yeah, Alex, wherever you are. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Yeah, thank you. Good to see you. Colleagues from Kenya Film Classification Board and everybody, once again, good afternoon, and thank you so much for tuning in on time to this call, the first webinar talking or training program that we are carrying out in conjunction with Google. And we are so honored to have Code IT Trust, led by Mr. Alex Gakuru, a veteran in this industry and one of the most respectable individuals who has been championing the ICT and the appropriation of technology in so many ways and promotion of freedom of expression. I started working with Alex when I was in KUJ, and I remember he has never quite detached from this campaign. And Alex, it's good to see the work that you are doing. Good to see Evelyn Kasina, the young tack in this field, very robust and knowledgeable in matters ICT, so much committed to ICT and the family and the issues of the internet and protection of children. And I met Evelyn through a clip that was done by Caroline Mutoko, and I saw a presentation and I was like, wow, we still have young people like this in our country who are so committed to what is right. They have studied, because we cannot talk about these issues unless we have the depth and the relevance. And I can see, Evelyn, you are in a class of your own when it comes to these things. And I honestly salute you. I really appreciate your depth and the work that you are doing, your campaigns on your social media platforms. And obviously, Michael, I don't know what to say about you. Thank you so much for trusting us. I think during your tenure in office, you have made the internet relevant to our people. You have done what it would take to make technology a blessing and not a curse, to aid the transfer of information, to bring entertainment and education in a manner that edifies, but at the same time where our children and our next generations are protected. And I like the way you do it in a manner that it becomes interesting and fun, and people are able to enjoy. Nelly, Emma, I think Emma's been our driver on this. I want to thank you in a very special way, Emma, and for coordinating this in a very excellent way. For once, we are seeing your video after many months of hiding in the village, and you are looking extremely well. You did your hair last time I saw. Emma and cut her hair, and she didn't want to bother with kinyozi, I think because of COVID. I can see now you have the new look. And everybody who is here, thank you. Asante sana and welcome. Let me just give a few remarks as we start. First and foremost, to thank Google and Michael in particular for enabling us to partner in this. I want to thank the facilitators, Alex and Evelyn, for coming on board to ensure that we drive this together, and for the partnership that you have with Google that now makes us the same team. Let me indicate that the training that we are carrying out today is a part of our efforts at KFCB, as Michael has said, to engage with other partners in the areas of content regulation, to ensure that with new technologies and with kids having more access now to technology, and especially to gadgets because of COVID-19, schools are closed, a lot of them are at home, and they have to have these gadgets as a matter of necessity because of their training, that while they are now using these gadgets, they are also safe. And I like what Michael said. It's not just about promoting safety in the features, safety features in the in the gadgets and the technology, but also having an engagement and a conversation that makes both the parents, the caregivers, and also the children engage in a manner that brings understanding. I think this is the essence of this webinar tonight. And I want to thank you, Michael, for enabling us to be part of this and for trusting KFCB as your partner. This is part of our mandate for protection of children from potential harmful content. The execution of this mandate is realized through, in the earlier, the function of monitoring of broadcast content to inform compliance strategies for enhancement and to ensure that what is consumed, both on television, but also within other technologies, is rated and is suitable. Our agenda here is not to protect adults from themselves. It's to protect children and to request and appeal to adults and caregivers to care about children, business people to care about children, content creators to care about children, to think about children. Children are our future. We see ourselves in the eyes of our children. And if they are not safe, because they are curious, they're inquisitive, they want to explore everything, they want to discover new things. If we do not monitor them and guide them and protect them, then we cannot have a safe society in the future. The monitoring function of our mandate is very critical to accomplishment of the compliance in respect to CAP 222, the Films and Strange Place Act CAP 222. And I thank Emma and Joel and everybody in that area who has done everything possible to ensure that we have partnerships like the one we have with Google that enhances our capacity to deliver to the Kenyan people. This, backed with research and stakeholder feedback, led to establishment of the media literacy program that we have been carrying out the last 4 or 5 years. Damned you are what you consume. We've given it new tweak to suit the new environment. The program, You Are What You Consume, it has also picked new elements of form is safi, clean is cool, and so on and so forth. And we're implementing this in different areas and with different stakeholders. But essentially, Google becomes very critical, and this webinar tonight becomes a very essential tool to ensure that we create awareness and bring in the relevant stakeholders like parents and caregivers to ensure that they are part of this process. The Media Literacy Program is also hinged on the both strategic plan and PC targets due to its objectives and expected targets. Its objective is to empower children and their caregivers with knowledge and skills that would enable them to interact with the ICT consumers or the media content from an informed perspective. The idea here is not to deny children access to technology, is to ensure that they get the devices, they get the gadgets, but they use them safely and responsibly. And we are so glad that Google has gone ahead of us as government and as regulators to ensure that there are facilities in place and features that guarantee this safety. And Michael and the rest of the trainers here will be talking more about it. So far, the board has reached tens of thousands of children and other stakeholders through the Media Literacy Program, but we have not yet reached our goal. We still want to achieve more, ensure there is more awareness. I've just come from a meeting with the members of parliament who are members of our ICT committee. And I am hoping that they are logging in because I've invited them to this meeting. So if you see some honorable so-and-so, I think there is, in particular, our chairman for ICT, Honorable Kisang. We have Madam Honorable Jane Jiru. I think she is the vice chair of the committee, and quite a number of the members of that committee. Honorable Jane Jiru is the vice chair of the ICT Committee of Parliament, but also she is the county woman rep for Embu County, and we have invited. The idea is to create more partnerships and understanding among stakeholders, so that we are not speaking at cross purpose, but we are reading from the same page in respect to our objective to protect children. The continuous rollout of the Media Literacy Program involves strategic partners like Google, Code IP Trust, communications, and many, many others like free air. We are now incorporating the DCI to ensure that the element of cybercrime are also factored in. Google, as a global tech company, has given us a lot of support, and your specialization in internet-related services and products, including search engine and a video streaming platform like YouTube, has become part of our lives and vocabulary every day. We are fighting content that is uploaded, but we don't want to fight, we want to engage more. And instead of such people, people using the search engines to, especially children, to go into pornography, to go into crime, such training like we have today would help a great deal to give them understanding that the internet was not created for those kind of things. But we also know that there's the dark side of the internet. We've got to collaborate with institutions like Google. We brought in Watoto Watch. I think they are also here. I hope Madam Lillian Kariuki is with us. We have also brought in Majolene. I hope she's Kirima. I hope she's with us today, and many, many, many others. Parents, like I said, are in a dilemma today because technology is a double-edged sword. And our desire is out of this engagement and training that parents and caregivers will gain more information and understanding of technology. Our kids are ahead of us. They are more creative. They understand technology better. If we do not create interest in what they are watching, in what they are navigating, in the kind of platforms they are serving, then we are sitting on a time bomb. My hope is that every parent who is attending this meeting will go as a disciple of Google to ensure that the proper use of this technology is applied in their homes, that we are going to convert these conversations to our boardrooms, in our churches, and everywhere, and save our children from accessing pornography and adult content, and create a situation where until they are able to make decisions for themselves, they do not have to be bombarded with content that is not appropriate for them. This is the essence of our training tonight, and I want to thank everybody who is here. Thank you, Nelly, for coordinating. Thank you, Emma, and everybody who has made this possible. Welcome, everybody, all the participants who are logging in. Welcome, enjoy the sessions. They're going to be very interesting. We have versatile and diverse trainers who are loaded and they are ready to unleash. And now, without further ado, it is my honor and privilege to declare this first webinar of our 2-series training program on parenting and the internet officially open. Asanteni sana. God bless you.
So without any further ado, we will move on straight to Evelyn, so that Evelyn, the first trainer, please Evelyn, take over.
Warigia, and please give me screen sharing. Warigia, screen sharing. Welcome everyone to this particular moment where we are going to engage in the training. And I hope, John, you're able to help out screen sharing. So just to help you understand a few of the things that we shall be doing, I would need us to have a pen and paper. And if you have someone seated next to you, be ready to engage them in some conversation. Yes?
And if they're standing,
John? Pardon?
No, I'm kidding. If they're standing,
they can be seated, please. So I'm going to begin by introducing the topic of the day. We are doing internet, parenting and the internet. It's a very exciting and very current topic, and especially at this day and age where we need to be able to have the necessary equipments to raise our children in a dispensation where the internet has taken a very central role for them. And I hope you're going to really enjoy this session. It's going to be very interactive. It is going to be one of those sessions where I need us to ask as many questions as possible. We are here at your disposal to answer them. We are here to equip you with the necessary tools and skills that will enable you to raise digital natives. Anybody who is above 25, we are digital immigrants, and we are raising digital natives. And at another time, I'm going to be able to explain what all that means. But our children are in a dispensation where they are living in the internet. And if you just think about even those who are not born yet, and their parents take photos of them with their pregnant selves, already those children have a digital footprint. So welcome to this session. My name is Evelyn Kasina, and I'll be your facilitator. And I want you to just, as we go through the questions, get to understand what the whole agenda of this training is. And it is going to be a 2-part series where we will be able to engage today with setting digital rules for the family, where we will talk about screen time, family values, and what we share, which constitutes to our digital footprint. And then next week, we shall have a very exciting topic on discovering family-friendly content and how we can start putting security for our platforms and for the family sharing. And I know everybody hears this topic of values, and we keep asking, what are values? And before I go into explaining what values are, I would just like you, in your piece of paper, or if you can engage us on the comment section, please start telling us who you think you are, because your values actually constitute to who you are. And introducing yourself is, and I'll give an example of myself. I am a mother, I am a daughter, I'm a lover of life, I'm an educator. Those are titles. But the person I am a very generous person. I am creative. I am kind. I am a stickler of time and principles and details. And those are the set of principles that create my values. And because I'm in a setup where I don't raise my children by myself, I have a partner and I have the society, I have the school, I have the church. I tend to align my children into places where my values are set across and they're synchronized. And I want you to just start thinking about your family values and what are the principles that are very important to you. Because principles are what make us who we are. When we start thinking about even ourselves as Kenyans, we are set by certain principles as a society. And we are certain people, we are generous people, we are agile people. And so when you're thinking about your family and your values, I would want you to start thinking about first who you are as an individual, and then what kind of values you bring along when you are, you're bringing your parenting onto the table, and how you set your family to the screen. And thinking about, what constitutes to your values, those are your principles. I'd like you to start also thinking about why those values are important to you. Because sometimes we have certain things that we do, and they're tended on how we were brought up, our cultural beliefs, our systems of how we were brought up. I tend to believe that me being a stickler of time was the fact that I was raised in a military barracks, and I used to see my father, who was a military guy, doing things according to time. And those things rubbed off me. So I feel like being a stickler of time is a principle and a value that I actually had to take up because of the nature of how I was brought up. And looking at what my husband brings into the table, and what the church brings into the table, and what the school where my children bring to the table, it constitutes to a certain belief system, which now make us start thinking about the values. And when we're talking about the conversation of values, values are important because when we bring them to our children and we are discussing the values and what we believe in, we start setting boundaries. Boundaries are very important because that is what shapes discipline. And when we also start thinking about it, we think about what we are grounded on. Because there are people who are grounded on faith, there are people who are grounded on education. Those are belief systems. There's a time I was listening to a sermon somewhere, and they were talking about the Burj Khalifa, the marvel of Burj Khalifa. We have so very many things that we can say about it. But one of the things that stuck for me in that conversation was the foundation took a whole year, 12 months, to dig into the foundation. That just goes to show the kind of time, the kind of commitment that the developers and the structural engineers took to create that particular building. That years and years and years from now, we shall still be talking about that building because people actually took time. And as a family, beliefs, the systems, the principles that we carry us along are the things that happen behind closed doors. When we are teaching our children about discipline, when we are teaching them about, patience, when we are talking about, tenacity, when you're talking about things like how they can present themselves online, we do that behind closed doors. Sometimes people see our children outside and they're like, I love how your child behaves. And some other times they're like, I'm not sure your child behaves in a way that is appropriate to the society. So we need to be able to start questioning our belief systems, because we are in a dispensation where when our children go online, they're in a global platform and they have to be able to stand for something. They must be able to have boundaries. And we can only do that when we start interrogating our belief systems. And so as I train, I'm going to keep asking you questions, and I hope you're going to interact with us on the comment section. And I would just like to ask you if you have let your children go online, and if you actually do know what they share. Have you put any restrictions over what they put online? Do you know if they're online or not? Those are the kind of questions I want us to interrogate. And I would just like to let you know that the digital age has made it super easy to share information. If you would just pay attention to the last 6 months that we've been on a lockdown, or probably, going through this COVID-19, we are all in one way or another using technology to share information, to connect with family, because we are not able to move as freely as we could. But the accessibility is making us connected. It might not be what is ideal, but at least we are still able to talk to each other across borders, across very many places. I'm so thankful because my mom has told me she's seated somewhere with my dad watching me right now. And that is only possible because of technology. And so, as much as I know we all fear that our children are either watching, mature content, inappropriate content, there is so much good that can come from the internet. And through this webinar, we are able to show you how our children can also harness technology. And so to my first thought-provoking question, and this one is a big one, guys. What are the biggest concerns you face in keeping your children safe online? I asked this question, I think 2 days ago on my social media platform, and I got very many concerns from parents. And what was very common was, children accessing mature content or inappropriate content that is not already for their age. That is a huge, huge concern for parents. Another very huge concern that people shared was the amount of screen time they're spending. So it could be that they're learning, it could be that they're entertaining themselves, but they're spending hours on end in front of a screen. That is also a very huge concern because it could have negative health effects to our children. Another very big concern that came out was dependency. And I think for me, that one is one of my hugest concerns as a parent. When I feel like my children are becoming very dependent on gadgets. From the time they wake up, they want to talk to someone, they have to be on a gadget. They want to do entertainment, they have to be on a gadget. And I feel sometimes if I don't keep breaking that cycle with either going outside for them to ride a bike or, playing arts in the house, I feel like they're going to start getting addicted to being in front of a screen. And so if you're able to just, interact with us and keep answering these questions, we would love it to share your comments with our viewers at the end of this webinar. And we would really like to just encourage you to write those notes. And if you do not know, it is okay for you to say you do not know. Another very big question that I ask is, what do your children actually do online? And when I actually asked this, very many people were ish. And by ish here means that they probably know, but they also probably do not know, or they're not very sure they know what their children do online. And that's a perfectly good place to be, because that's why you're here. You're here to engage, you're here to learn. And I think it's very important to ask yourself this question, because we need to be able not to get shocked when we see our children's digital footprint making rounds over the social media. And then we are like, no, my child is not online. My child can definitely not be online. Sometimes we need to start opening up our mindsets. We need to start accepting that the technology is part of their growing up as opposed to us. We also have to start accepting that the way we use technology and social media is not how they use it. And once we get into their level of understanding why they're on certain platforms, why they're using technology the way they are, we are able to actually help them through this process. And so I would like you to just think around these questions, answer them very honestly. But one of the things I want to encourage us today is that, believe you me, you're not alone. Why? There are very many parents who have shared their feedback over what they think their children do online. And and some of their fears. And some parents have said that parents need to be more involved and engaged and educated. Being involved, being engaged is good. You have to be educated. And I think that's why we have all set our Sunday evening time to be here to learn so that we can get educated. Some people have said my children are more tech savvy than I am. I think that cuts across. So many kids right now know shortcuts, new platforms, new ways of communicating, new ways of doing things. They're using technology in a way that we do not know some functions actually do exist. And because safety is paramount, I'm concerned with what my children get up to when I'm not around or when I'm not monitoring them. For me, I love to tell parents that they need to start having their children take responsibility. That is what we need to have our children take personal responsibility over what they watch. And I keep encouraging children in telling them that what they see, it feeds their heart. What feeds their heart feeds their actions. And it's something that they need to repeat to themselves so that just in case you're not around, because the truth is we cannot always be around when they're online. The truth is we need to start helping our children know that there are certain things they can do online, there are certain things they can't do online. And actually, when they do stumble upon content that is not really healthy for them, they always have a fallback to come home and engage parents, the guardians, or the educators on what to do next, because we are the people who have their best interest at heart. So we need to be able to create conducive environments for our children so that they feel like when I go to my mom or my dad or my teacher, I'm able to tell them that I saw ABCD and they're able to help me so that they know how to navigate this space. And another parent said, this is an era of technology. Kids don't play outside anymore. And I think with this COVID-19 dispensation, this comment is very, very real, because depending on where you are, your children might have space to go outside. Some do not have that luxury. And when they do not have the luxury of going outside, what happens? They're being babysat by the TVs. They're being babysat by technology. And if a parent really, really needs to do something at home, because some of us are also working from the house, we need our children to be engaged somewhere. In front of a TV is where they will not disturb you. They will not keep asking you, what can I do? What can I do? They are really glued, and with time, they become zombified. And people can pretend to be anyone online. And I think this is a great fear also when parents are thinking about how to keep their children safe online. And when I think about this, I actually remember conversations that I've had with children where they find they're being groomed while they're playing video games. And I keep insisting to parents, before you buy a video game for your child, please play it. Please play it. Get to feel what that game is doing to you as a grown-up before you hand it down to your child. Because then you're able to have the discernment to know whether it is a good game or not. You're able to apply your family values to know if they're aligned with the game or not. And you're also able to know that there are chat functions where when your children are playing with strangers, and especially in the multiplayer games, you're able to know that a child can actually deviate into the chat functions, and things like online grooming happen in those chat functions. So we need to be able to be very careful, because there are people online who pretend to be who they are not. And then I don't want them to stumble across things that they shouldn't be stumbling across. I think, again, this is a huge concern for very many of us. And even when we're talking about online safety, we always want our children to watch what is sane. We want our children to watch what is safe for them. And I think with KFCB, with the mandate that it is pushing, the CEO has just said right now that we are in the dispensation where we are protecting children. And even the content that content developers are creating out there, it needs to be very sensitive towards the children, because it is what will shape the society when we start being phased out. And so we need to start thinking along these lines. But those concerns that you have, I just want to assure you that you're not alone, because most of us go through these similar concerns. And so there's a survey that was done by UNICEF a few years back. I know with the last 6 months, very many things have changed. However, I will draw your attention into the fact that at that point, 66% of children were saying that being online is a very big part of their everyday life. And I just want you to think around the last 6 months we've been on lockdown. Apart from electricity, food, clothing, shelter, internet has become a basic need. It really has become, because we need to communicate, we need to do online learning. As parents, we need to continue working. Some of us are in school, so we need to continue learning. So really, the internet has become a very integral part of our daily lives. And we need to be able to be drawn to that part where it is not always about entertainment. We can actually do so many things that can enable us to harness the power of technology. And I just want you to ask yourself and give yourself very honest answers here. How old were you when you got a hold to the kind of technology your kids have today? How old were you? I think for me, with things like PS, it's in my late 20s. I didn't have that kind of luxury when I was young, because when I was young, we were just playing outside. And for me, in a military barracks, entertainment was really watching I think you people watch the army people marching on those particular, special days, as we used to watch them a lot. And the kind of entertainment that we had, the kind of gadgets. I got a phone when I was 22 years old. And children right now who are as young as 5, 6, 7, they have phones. So how old were you when you got a hold to the kind of technology our children have? But because we are living in a different dispensation, the internet today becoming an integral part of our everyday life, we cannot escape the fact that our children need the kind of technology that they have today. Because for us, it's probably not because we couldn't afford, it's because it didn't exist at that particular time. But right now, we are in a different dispensation where today we wake up, there's AI, tomorrow we wake up, there are drones. We are going into the robotic world. We are actually even thinking about data mining and big data. And so the world is really changing, and our children need to be able to adapt, to plug and play as they move along. And so how are children using the internet? That is something that I keep asking. I ask them in this question in very different ways, but at least 64% of children use technology and the internet to chat with their friends. Yeah, I think we also do the same thing, because right now, with the kind of lockdown that we have, the cessation of movement, up and down across the borders, we are using technology for very many things. If you actually look at how we are delivering this particular webinar, it is through the internet, because of the kind of dispensation we are in. Very many of them, at around 52%, they are watching video clips, and not just video clips on platforms like YouTube, and there's social media, and those platforms are very, very many. New platforms are being developed every single day where children are downloading video clips to watch. Pulling your attention to just what has been the number one downloaded app, social media app now in the last, I think, 4 months has been TikTok, and it is just being used to stream content. And 53% of the children who are surveyed, they say they play video games against their friends and strangers. And that's why I pull your attention also to just get to help you understand that having our children being online is a good thing. However, because we cannot avoid them being online, we need to have certain very deliberate conversations with them. And if you look at a whopping 53%, which I know right now is rapidly increasing, when they're playing against their friends, do you actually check if they're also playing against strangers? Because there is this conversation of stranger danger that we need to have with our children. And mostly because of the online grooming that is happening, child trafficking that is happening. The internet has also become a conduit for good things, but also very dangerous things. So we need to start having very deliberate conversations with our children on whom they're playing with, what kind of information they're sharing, and how much time they're spending over these gadgets. And so, because I said I don't like only dwelling on the negative, I love looking at technology with how amazing it is. Technology is actually a really amazing force of good. Because if we were on a lockdown and we didn't have the internet, our lives would literally be on a standstill. Some of these things we are doing right now, like having a webinar, educating ourselves, would not be happening. And I want to just think around how we are using technology even as adults, socializing on social media. We make things trend on Twitter, literally trend. And these are conversations, these are topics, these are our feelings. We share videos on YouTube. I love that today is Sunday and I was able to be in church on YouTube, because my church is facilitating the service on YouTube. And just because I can't be in church in the physical ground, I'm still able to participate through the internet. So that is an amazing force of good. Think about how many people are using the internet for research, for homework, and also for work. It's a really amazing force of good. We also have people who, are looking for work opportunities. And I think with this dispensation we are in, having computer skills and being tech savvy is actually a very fundamental skill. It is what I call a life skill above swimming. I keep telling my children they have to swim, not just because it is fun to swim, but swimming is a life skill. Knowing how to navigate the internet, knowing how to discern fake news and real news, knowing how to stop yourself from overindulging. It's actually a really good skill for you to have at this day and age, because we are moving jobs, we are creating new opportunities, and the internet is actually helping us in this particular way. And then, of course, we have content developers. And I know the Kenya Films Classification Board is really on the throat of people who are creating content, because we need to continue championing for content that is healthy for our children and ourselves as well. So looking at this conversation we are having right now, I just want you to think about what we tell our children in terms of you can't do this, you can't do this. As much as we keep telling them you can't be on the TV for so long, what else can they do? We need to start thinking outside the box and giving them options. I remember my son telling me that he misses chess, and I called his chess tutor, and he told me that they can actually keep doing chess online. And right now, he's doing his chess training, anticipating to go back to doing the chess tournaments. I feel like we need to start thinking about things outside the box. And what we couldn't digitize at a certain point, we can start digitizing now so that life can continue. It might not be the same because we are all creating a new normal, but because of the force of technology, we can start seeing how we can make new things. And out of that, we can start creating a beautiful world where we are not so stressed that our children are creating content that is not healthy, because we are guiding them on how to digitize things that we're actually proud of. So as parents, as guardians, as educators, I think this is the time where we stop thinking about things the way they used to happen and get into a new way of a mindset. And I would love to, to just take a short break where we will be able to engage on this topic of values. And then on the next segment, we will talk about sharing and screen time, which I know most of you are ready to embark and enjoy. So we will take a 5-minute break where we will be showing a video on online safety. And then when we come back, we will be able to discuss sharing and screen time. So thank you so much. Please do not go far. Take a glass of water. Keep your comments coming. We are here ready to answer you, and we shall be back in the next 5 minutes. Thank you so much.
Love and kisses from... Oh, it's on! I'm sorry, guys. I know I've told you I'd share everything with you, but this letter is really, really private. Okay. Da-da-da. Now it's safe in my top secretive box. The internet is a great place to do research for school. Share pictures with friends, play video games, or check out the latest trending videos. But it's important to remember that there are billions of people who access the internet, and not everyone has good intentions when doing so. You should think carefully before you share personal information, pictures, or videos on the internet, even if you think it is private. Nothing on the internet is completely private. It's a good rule of thumb not to put up anything that could embarrass you later. If you wouldn't want your grandmother to see it, then don't post it. And don't share private information with people you don't know. Love and kisses from... Oh, it's on! Trust your instincts. I'm sorry, guys. I know I've told you I'd share everything with you, but this letter is really, really private.
With them immediately.
Okay.
And tell a parent or another
Now it's safe in my top secretive box.
It's best not to meet in person someone you've only met online, even if you've been communicating with them for a long time.
The internet is a great place to do research for school.
They have told you they are,
share pictures with friends, play video games, or check out the latest trending videos. But it's important to remember that there are billions of people who access the internet, and not everyone has good intentions when doing so.
Where you were going and who you were going to meet.
You should think carefully before you share personal information, pictures, or videos on the internet,
any other website or app,
even if you think it is private.
Still a form of bullying.
Nothing on the internet is completely private.
Block,
It's a good rule of thumb not to put up anything that could embarrass you later. If you wouldn't want
If
your
that
grandmother to
doesn't
see
work,
it,
getting help
then
from a
don't
parent,
post it.
school counselor,
And
or another
don't share
trusted
private
adult
information
might be a
with
good
people
idea.
you don't know.
That's especially true if the cyberbullying contains threats. Remember to
Trust your
always keep
instincts.
your personal
If someone
information
approaches you
private.
online and makes you feel uncomfortable or
Check
in
your
danger,
privacy settings to
stop
make sure that
communication
only
with
your
them
friends can see what you
immediately.
post.
And tell a parent
And
or
never,
another trusted
ever
adult.
share your passwords with
It's
anyone
best not
else.
to meet in person
The
someone
internet
you've
could be a
only met
wonderful place
online,
to explore.
even if you've been
Just
communicating
remember
with
to
them for a
stay
long
safe
time.
while doing it.
They may not be who they have told you they are, and it could be dangerous. If you do decide to meet someone from online, it's best to meet them in a public place and to not go alone. Always take a friend along just to be safe. And let someone else know exactly where you are going and who you are going to meet.
Okay.
Bullying someone online through
might take a
email,
while.
social media, text
Till next
messaging,
time,
or any
don't
other
forget to
website or
visit me
app
at
is called
amaze.org or go
cyberbullying
to my
and is
YouTube
still a
channel
form
to
of
watch more.
bullying.
Bye.
It's often better to block, delete, or try to ignore bullying messages than to respond to them. If that doesn't work, getting help from a parent, school counselor, or another trusted
it's
adult
on.
might be a good idea.
I'm sorry,
That's
guys.
especially
I know
true
I've
if the
told you I'd share
cyberbullying
everything
contains
with
threats.
you, but this letter
Remember
is
to always
really,
keep your personal
really
information private.
Okay.
Check your privacy
Now it's
settings
safe
to
in
make
my
sure that
top
only
secret
your friends
secretive
can see what
box.
you post. And never, ever share your passwords with anyone else.
The internet is a great place
The
to do
internet could be a
research for
wonderful
school.
place to explore.
Share pictures
Just
with
remember
friends,
to stay
play video
safe
games,
while doing
or
it.
check out the latest trending videos. But it's important to remember that there are billions of people who access the internet, and not everyone has good intentions when doing so. You should think carefully before you share personal information, pictures, or videos on the internet, even if you think it is private. Nothing on the internet is completely private. It's a good rule of thumb not to put up anything that could embarrass you later. If you wouldn't want your grandmother to see it, then don't post it. And don't share private information with people you don't know.
I hope you're keeping the conversation going on our social media pages. We are live on the YouTube and Facebook on Eveminet KE and KFCB. And we are also engaging you on Twitter. So keep the comments coming and the questions rolling. And without further ado, I'll go into the point of the topic of setting digital ground rules, which I know we all need to have because setting rules actually develops discipline, and we need to be able to be bounded by certain ground rules. And so understanding the importance of setting digital ground rules is firm, and all families need to be able to just create some sort of ground rules for themselves and their children. And ground rules can help you enjoy the best of the internet, while understanding there's a limit where good of the internet can come, and there's also negative impact if internet is abused or overused. So we need to be able to see how we can create certain rules for our children, how we can develop discipline, and what are the consequences also of abusing or overindulging on the internet. And so I keep asking myself, and I've asked, parents, what kind of ground rules have you currently set for your family online? Before I actually realized that I was doing certain things in terms of setting ground rules, it was just free open. And I remember 2 years back, uh, especially when my kids would close school, they would always come and knock in our room and keep saying, "Can we watch? Can we watch?" And that really used to irritate me because it would be the first thing they would think about when they get out of bed. And so I realized that there's something I need to change in my environment to help them, navigate and look at these things differently. And I would just like to show you a small exercise that I do when I'm teaching my children how to navigate this space. And while we are at it, I hope you can see from the small part of your screen, I have a few things with me here. There are some big rocks I have, big rocks. I hope you can see some big rocks on the corner of your screen where you can see my face. I have some small rocks, and then I have some petals, which I use when I'm demonstrating this particular exercise. And I call it the prioritization. And one of the things that I've done is I've made sure that before I engage technology, I have served my big rocks. And personally, I only have big rocks, and allow me for this demonstration to use myself. And as we are going on, you'll be able to see how you can create your own priority for yourself, and then how you can also carry it along for your children. Now, the big rocks I have are 4. And one of my big rocks is God. So I have to keep creating a relationship with God. One of my other big rocks is family. My other big rocks is my education. And then I have health. My health at some point was part of my small rocks, but I realized with COVID-19, my mental health, my physical health, and my well-being generally has to be paramount, because if I am not taking care of myself well, then I'm not also able to take care of the people who are around me. And so I only have 4 big rocks, which I have to serve before I engage any sort of technology. And that actually means that at some point when we say we are using our phones as our alarm systems, that can actually become a hindrance, because sometimes we start that and then you snooze your phone, or you decide it's okay, I'm awake, but I'm on my phone. And you can actually be awake on your phone in bed for almost an hour. And so for my small rocks, I've actually decided to make them as specific as possible, where I have my YouTube, I have my WhatsApp, I have my Facebook, I have when I call my parents, my sister, my brother, my family, my friends, I have that as my small rock. And then I have me time, because I have to have me time. You can go crazy in this space if you don't take time out. And then I have, reading a book, recreation, and stuff like that. So when you're creating your small rocks, this is where technology comes. You can do this exercise for yourself, but you can also help your children do this exercise. And for them, helping them understand that when they wake up, there are certain things they must do. Like if you have your 4 rocks, let them do their 4 rocks. However, at what point of the day do they engage their screen time for entertainment? For instance, when do they start engaging their gaming? When do they start engaging their social medias? It needs to come probably under their small rocks, but it has to be very timed and very specific. When it comes to petals, this is what I call really non-essential. And I'll give an example of a very hot day where you really want to cool down and you're craving for ice cream, but you do not have ice cream. If you take a cold drink like water or juice, it will still serve the same purpose. When it comes to, thinking about your petals, you've seen a new shoe, but you're not really struggling with shoes. Do you really have to buy it or not? So you're bargaining over if you want it or not. It's not a want, it's actually a need, a passing one, actually. So for the children, it could be their video games. They might have seen a new launch of a video game. They're really craving for it. They're really crying for it. You've not budgeted. You've not pre-screened it. You've not played it. And so it becomes a petal, because it's not that they do not have other games to engage them. But once you have gone through a certain process or a certain conversation, then you can have the petal come into the small rock. And so the prioritization really helps, because as a parent, we need to be able to help our children realize that there's a time for everything. And the song I keep singing in my house, do the right thing at the right time, in the right way, and at the right time, at the right place. Because they need to know watching cartoon is not really bad, but you can't watch cartoon at 6 a.m. You have to have had certain things done before you start engaging your cartoons. And I think there are parents who I talk to, and they struggle when they tell me they left the house, and when they came in the afternoon, they still found their children in their PJs, which means that they did not take time to even groom themselves, because they woke up and engaged probably a small rock or a petal before they could actually do their big rocks. So we need to be able to start thinking about even the screen time in that way. Right now, we are in a dispensation where if school is online, we have to balance screen time in terms of education, then entertainment, and also socialization, because we are using screen time for very many things. So we need to start having a balance where if you know your child is in school for probably 9 o'clock to around 12 or even in the afternoon, when the school is offering breaks, can that break be tech-free? Can that break be a screen-free break? Let them jump up and down, let them go, do a chore in the house, rest a bit. Even their eyes will thank them later. Then when they're having lunch, obviously that should be a tech-free zone. And then when they finish their online classes, let them take at least a mandatory 1 hour break. Then they can engage either their phones for social, or they can engage their gaming. Then work backwards from the time they sleep. I try as much as possible to make sure that my children are not in front of a screen immediately they're going to bed. So 30 to 1 hour, if they're sleeping at around 9 o'clock, At 8, put off the screens so that at least you can also start having engagements and finding out how people spend their day, what they were up to and what they were doing. It actually really helps because then you're managing your screen time. Another thing that I love to teach in this place of creating rules is that I have a small chondo here, and I would love to just demonstrate it. I have a small chondo here, and I call it my gadget basket, where when we are engaging in certain activities in the house, we put our portable things here. And I know my mom is watching, and she's been one of the people who's been affected by the basket, because when you're watching a movie, she's told by the grandchildren to put her phone in the basket, because as a rule in the house, when it's a movie time, it is one gadget at a time. We actually really suffer from that because sometimes we are thinking, I've watched Finding Nemo 20 times and I actually can talk along with the script, but it is important when we are having family engagements and family time, we engage with the children in that particular, the screen that you're watching at that point. Let it be one screen at a time. And I realized over time, as we are watching new movies, and I'm actually participating actively in that, I'm able to start picking some undertones that the movies are showing. And when my children have questions, and especially with some content that is played online or on different platforms, we're able to have very deliberate conversations around the content. And I've realized that the fact that I have my phone down, I'm able to pick those undertones. So it is important for us to be able to create those ground rules. So when you're having a movie night, let it be one device at a time. When you're creating a game night at home, unless you're using technology as a means to play that game, let it also be a tech-free zone. As a rule of thumb for us, when we are having meals in our home, that is a tech-free zone because we need to have conversations with each other. And what I realized in that process, because I also found out that asking people normal questions like, how are you? They will say, I'm fine. How was your day? It was okay. I've realized that I need to start having deeper provoking questions, like asking people what was the best part of your day. Because when you ask someone that, they actually start thinking about what was the best part of their day. Because probably something ruined their day. It was a 5-minute thing, and that is the only thing lingering in their head. And they're not able to even just appreciate that they had a good day. You can ask someone what made them smile or who made them smile. They will actually think about it. And you realize that over time, when there's no technology or screens distracting people, you have very rich quality conversations over dinner. People start engaging more. You have more things to talk about apart from, I'm fine, I'm okay. And you also realize that if there are people who are not speaking to each other, by virtue of sitting across each other, you're forced to talk. So creating those spaces where it is conducive, your children start seeing that there are things that can be discussed in an open and safe place. And those are the kind of things we would really want to help you get out of this training, because the whole idea is to help you create a conducive environment for your children. And we would like actually to start asking you if you have any places that you have set, or you have any types of screen ground rules that you have put in your house. Please share with us so that we can also learn from you as much as you're also learning from us. There's one particular place that I keep telling people that is a tech-free zone, and they laugh and they argue. The toilet. The toilet should be a tech-free zone. Because one of the things that I've realized is you can spend more time than required in the toilet. And then right now, we are in a space where we are sanitizing all the time. We are not sanitizing our phones. And our phones can actually be a conduit to germs. There's a quote I read, or it was a statistic. I don't know whether it is true or not, but I would love to use it because it is something that I believe is. And they say that there are almost 8,000 germs along in the toilet zone. So you can imagine when you wash your hands and your phone was there, you touch it again, you're transferring at least 8,000 germs. And that is not something to celebrate. But for me, the toilet should be a tech-free zone. So if you can add that into your ground rules, that would be amazing. And so what are some of the options for digital ground rules? Ground rules should be one of those things that help you set boundaries. So you set boundaries across ground rules. I've realized that when I told my kids that they need to create a schedule, and especially now that they're not really in school, they have created a schedule where they have set their big rocks and when they can engage technology. And I told them to be very specific when they're creating technology, their screen time for technology, because one of them is coding, one of them is doing chess. So that has to be very specific. Then they will tell me they want to do live conferences with their friends. That is social. And then when they want to watch their cartoons, that's entertainment. So I've helped them create that. And they need to be able to understand, because I have children under 10, what is the advised amount of screen time that they can have? before COVID, WHO had come up with guidelines over screen time due to age. Right now, I think we just need to be able to have very serious balance. And for people who have children under 5, it still has to be around an hour to 2 hours with health breaks. But also what is supposed to be very important is screen time has to be supervised. Remember, you're the parent. Remember, you're the guardian. You are the one who is in charge. Screen time should always be supervised. As the kids grow along, we can help them have the dependency of pre-screening their own content and aligning them with values. Because remember, we talked about values. When you're having this conversation of ground rules, it always has to be tied along things that are aligned with our values. And so when you bring out this conversation to your family and you're telling them we need to be able to establish some ground rules on screen time, you will have a conversation where, when are we engaging screen time for learning? You set that time aside. When are you having breaks? What are they doing in those breaks? Please do not feed into the schedule of your children. Let them also be part of this conversation. Let them tell you what they want to do, and then you can help them balance. And also ask them, at what point do they get on social media? Whom are they talking to? What are they sharing? And then when do they stop? Because it has to be programmed. It has to be something that you're putting boundaries across. The same way we say, personally, I tell people not to call me past 8 o'clock unless it's a real emergency. That is a boundary I have put. So how are we helping our children also put boundaries on social media? Because sometimes we can have people who are on social media until past midnight into the wee hours of the morning. We need to be able to help ourselves first, manage our own ways of creating boundaries, then we can also help our children create boundaries. And also tying them with family rules. And I'll give an example of the rules that we put offline for our children. And I will keep giving examples of myself because then at least it will help you see the kind of things that will help you narrate it to the online space. I tell my children they cannot go to people's houses. It is not decent unless they have been invited. It's the same thing. You have to be able to tell your children that they cannot keep infringing on people's spaces over the internet unless they're invited. Those are rules. And so tying them into our family rules will be very dependent on how we want our families to be portrayed over the internet, the kind of things we want to find our children watching over the internet. And then we're able to help them manage the time. Because when you manage the content, we can manage the expectations, then we can manage their time. And then also, another option would be establishing family ground rules. The same way you have those rules of you can't get things from strangers, you have to be very aware of your environment, offline and online. We need to be able to have our children understand that the internet space, first, the internet never forgets. So the things that they post there will forever be there. So they need to be very aware when they're posting things, if they're positive things or negative things, so that at least it is something that will build them. And they have the mentality to know that the things that they're posting will forever make their footprint. And then when we're talking about screen time, it will be correlating to the content. I keep saying an empty debe, it will always make a lot of noise. And when we don't keep our children engaged in productivity, they'll keep making noise. I know for a fact that there are very many things that our children can do that are not productive. And the internet can become a rabbit hole. Give yourself an example of being on Twitter today, looking at the things that are trending. You click a trend, you will read comments and read comments and read comments. Then you get into another trend. You click another link here. It takes you to YouTube. YouTube takes you to a website. A website takes you somewhere else. It becomes a web, but it becomes a bottomless pit. However, when you're engaged in knowing that I'm going into the internet to do specific things, you can actually set time. And when you have prioritized yourself, you will know that if I'm breaking my time for reading, it is breaking time for reading. Then when I have my free time for entertainment or other things, then I can do my socials and my entertainment. So we need to be able to be very careful how we engage our children in this conversation. Also understanding that, as I said earlier, what they're using technology for or the internet is not what we are using it for. So there's a huge shift, there's a huge difference, and we need to be able to get into their space to understand from them. So always have your children on the table when you're having this particular conversation. And then looking at what is important in terms of balancing. And there are obviously very many positive impacts of balancing screen time, then there's the negative impacts. And one of the things that I've realized in terms of prioritization and scheduling is that when you have things to meet and you don't have a schedule, you'll always be running with deadlines. When a deadline comes, you're actually having palpitations because you've not met your obligations. And one of the things that I've realized is to just set time aside to finish what you need to do. Our children, at the point where they're doing online learning, they need to have that discipline where they have to do first things first, then other things later. And things like homework. Just because a teacher is not coming to physically check your work, some of them have to submit some work. But the quality of work they're submitting is dependent on how much time they took in doing that actual work. So we need to have these conversations with our children in terms of, integrity and diligence, and then help them as they connect with friends and family. The same way we have conversations with them about vetting offline friends, that should be carried to the online world. Because once they get into the global village, they meet people they don't share religion with, they meet people they don't share culture with, and it is a place where we have to teach them about respect. We need to teach them about boundaries and how they can do certain things at certain times. And so negative effects, obviously, for me, my eyesight was affected because of being in front of the screen a lot. So now I have glasses. That's a negative health effect. And your sleep can actually be affected by overindulgence of the screen. That's why I say it is important, if you can try 30 minutes or an hour before they go to sleep, put off your screen so that you can have good quality sleep. And then for children who are below the age of 13, Google has a very fantastic product called the Family Link. And I particularly love it because before COVID, if you asked me when I'm going to introduce my children to these platforms, I would say 13. However, they've introduced a link where I can create for my child an email address, but connecting with mine. And one of the benefits of this is I can set daily screen time for my children from my phone. So I can actually put off their devices when it is bedtime. I can see the kind of apps that they have, the ones that they're downloading, and I'm able to even grant them extra screen time. And this you can do remotely. Remember, we are also in a time where if you have to be engaged doing something else and you want to keep monitoring your children, technology actually plays a very good conduit because it will help you connect with them remotely. And so it is a very important thing. If you have children below the age of 13, please use the family link that you can find on your app store and connect it with your own Gmail. Allow them to be on these platforms and monitor them. And then when they get to the age of 30, you can give them as a birthday present their password. But before then, of course, you will have had very deliberate conversations of the consequences of being on this kind of platform, and also helping them understand, because children who do not know how to stop their own time, it is important for you to set those screen boundaries for them. And when the screen goes off, they realize, oh, it's time to go to sleep. Oh, I need to put my phone down. Because also, there is what you can allow them, but there's also how you need to help them. So we need to be able to have these conversations with them. And so how can we start talking to our children around screen time? We need to balance the conversation between education, social media, and productiveness. Because I put productiveness in the sense that right now their clubs are going online, and the things that we would love them to do extracurricular would come under the productiveness. And so help them balance. When your children are going to the school season, check their timetables and see how you can put certain things at certain times. I have a friend of mine who shared their screen time routine, and he has, I think, 4 children at home. And I always ask for permission to share people's stories. So this one is out of consent. And he told me that he has 3 children who love playing video games. So he has put 3 days of the week between 4 and 5 where the children can play video games. So they interchange. So there's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then whoever has put their week in order, or they've done certain things, they are granted additional time during their screen time as an reward to know good behavior. I'm not saying reward your children because of good behavior, but you need to be able to also appreciate when they're pulling their effort and they're pulling their weight. So they're given an extra 20 minutes or an extra 30 minutes. But because you're probably in a house where you have more than one child, and maybe the gadgets in the house have competition, you can actually use this to set a time for each child. And then create one day of the week where you all sit down and watch a family movie. Set a day also where you have days where a certain person is using a certain technology for something. And looking at the different ages of your children, you're able to help them balance. Don't use this screen time schedule as one fits all, because everybody in the house has different needs. So as a parent, you have to sit down with each individual child, depending on their age, depending on their likeness, and which platforms they're going to, and help them create a schedule, and then teach them the discipline of following that routine. So we need to be able to help them balance. Also, bringing them to the table will help you know which platforms they want to spend time on. And out of that, you're able to also interrogate. Because like my children keep telling me that I need to play Roblox. And I'm not a gamer, but I want to be interested because I want to know, are they playing with strangers? Are they playing good games? Have we pre-screened the games? So sometimes I get involved so that I can get to know how these games make them feel. And that's the only way as a parent you can start getting engaged with what your children are doing. Get to their level. If you must, play the games with them. And then keeping them engaged into the positivity of what they're sharing online, how the things they're sharing online create a positive attitude towards screen time. So we need to be able to have these very deliberate conversations with our children. And then as we also look at that, I want you to answer these questions honestly for yourselves. And asking yourself, does technology ever prevent you from being present? There are times that we actually go overboard in thinking that technology does not make us present. And as a parent, if you have ever had to tell your child, give me 1 minute, I'm on my phone, I'm working, technology is actually preventing you from being present. How does screen time affect focus? If you cannot watch a video for more than 10 minutes or more than 5 minutes, your screen time focus has started dwindling down to the TikTok of 1.5 minutes. So we need to be able to start seeing how our focus is being affected by excessive screen time, and also start looking at reflecting on ways to control it. And by controlling here, parents, I need you to just think around what is the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning. If it's to go on social media, those are red flags. And you need to first work on yourself before you start working on your children. Because if you cannot see the problem of engaging certain social media platforms in the moment you wake up in the morning, then you cannot tell your children that they're forever on their phones because they're seeing what you're doing. Because what a monkey sees, a monkey does. And then in terms of sharing, this is where I introduce screen time. And I would love to just help you understand how you can intertwine the family ground rules, the family values, the family ground rules, and what they're sharing. It is all about what you want your family to be presented in terms of the content that is out there. And I want you to just think about the age we are in and how the internet has made it super easy for us to connect with families and friends. However, with accessibility, there are obviously consequences. There's a very wonderful story I saw on Instagram 2 weeks ago about a boy called Anthony Madu, and he's from Nigeria. And it was raining. He decided to go outside, and he started dancing. He was doing a certain dance, I think a ballet dance, mixed genres. And somebody was recording him, and they put a video online. And within 72 hours, Anthony Madu got recognized by certain different institutions and started getting scholarship opportunities. A good problem for him because he couldn't know which one to choose. However, a very distinct opportunity he got was from the ballet school of Jacqueline Kennedy in New York. And the power of the internet can look so simple for very many people, but it is so great. You can imagine someone who just woke up, decided to go dance, and then someone told them, I'm offering you a scholarship to come and explore. We teach you, and you harness your talent. However, the consequences of negative negative screen time also are here with us. And I think in the Kenyan dispensation, even globally, we have very many examples. I choose to particularly point out the Be Best campaign that the First Lady of the United States launched a few years back, where she was focusing on the well-being of youth and advocating against cyberbullying, because we have actually seen the negative consequences of people who are being bullied online, some actually that lead to death. And we need to be able to start also having our children understand the consequences of what they put out there. I know the CEO of KFCB is actually someone who's also bullied online on Twitter. And those are negative effects. People who are sharing their voices, sharing their opinions, and just because other people don't feel that they're aligned to them, they start having different conversations around that. That is actually online harassment and online bullying. So we need to have real conversations of our children in terms of what they post out there with what it means for their footprint. And in addition to that, I keep telling them in class when I'm teaching, your footprint is not only what you post. What other people post about you, it actually sets precedence over your footprint because it is content about you anyway. So we need to start having real conversations, helping them understand that the internet never forgets. There are things that will be told 5-10 years from now when they're looking for jobs or opportunities, and people will tell them that, you know what, I'm sorry, you have good qualifications, you're a good, brilliant person, but we can't have you because your values do not align with ours. There's a news extract from the United States that was showing some 10 students whose Harvard applications were revoked. And this was due to some of the things that the HR found that they were posting on a private WhatsApp, Facebook page actually. And it was racial, it was just bad content. And people who had already been accepted in school, their applications had to be revoked. And one fundamental thing that came out is that these students do not share our value systems. Values are actually important because they shape who we are. But our children need to be able to understand those value systems that you're talking to them from this day, how they will shape their online work, their online perspectives, their digital footprint. So we need to start teaching them the value of positivity. We need to help them understand that sharing minimal things is actually a great thing. Oversharing could be dangerous. And then help discuss the responsibility behind what they share. I think we saw what happened to Pauline Joroge and how she lost an opportunity because of sharing a comment. Because sometimes the students will keep telling me, there's freedom of expression, which is true. But at what point that freedom of expression could be something that does not align with a certain institution and could land you to miss a huge opportunity in the near future. So today, we need to be able to help our children learn values. If you have not had the values conversation with them, this is your opportunity to start it. Don't keep it in your head. Share it with them. Let them also give you feedback. Then discuss about ground rules, the things that they should do offline and the things that they should do online. Help them understand that if it is not acceptable offline, it should not find itself acceptable online. From the video that we watched, if you're going to be scared of your mother seeing what you're posting online, it shouldn't probably be online. And then let's also start having conversations about their footprint. But as you're having conversations about footprint, please have a balanced conversation where you're teaching them about who has actually harnessed their footprint and who is suffering from their footprint, so that they're able to see the difference and the depth of conversation that you have. And I would love to pose for questions and then also ask you to share with us what has been your key takeaway from this session. And then next week, we'll be able to get into the discussion of discovering family-friendly content. So at this point, I would love to just take it back to Nelly, who will share with me the questions that have been coming through from you people. And then also just asking you to share with us what has been your key takeaway from this session. Thank you so much for taking your 1 hour, 30 minutes to be with us. I hope you can indulge us for a little more time so that we can get to answer your questions. Thank you so much. Nelly?
But can we appreciate Evelyn? Thank you so much. That was fantastic. The feedback is amazing. We are hearing from all over the globe, and I have a lot of people are texting me, and I'm forwarding their comments to you, Evelyn, on your WhatsApp. Everybody is excited. Thank you. Thank you. You are amazing. Let's appreciate her once more. All right. Thank you very much, Nelly.
Emma or Nelly?
Well, in case they're not here, I can go. I think one of the questions I saw was how do you monitor children behavior on mobile phones?
Okay. How do you monitor children's behavior on mobile phones? Now, one of the things that I've realized, it's a bit hard right now to monitor behavior. You can look at their behavior in terms of how they are relating when they're on their phone, if they're getting agitated, if they're getting very secretive, or they're hiding their phones or not using their phones commonly in a common place. However, monitoring their phones right now can be a bit difficult because with the introduction of AI, so now we have Google Assistant, we have Siri, we have Alexa, you can't really quite check their history because even the children right now have started knowing how to hide those things and delete their history. However, we need to start engaging our children in their mannerisms. You need to start monitoring their language because that is one of the things for me that is a red flag. Your children, depending on which spaces they are going to, you will realize that if it's not common language in their house, it's coming from a media. If it is, they're becoming a bit more aggressive, maybe there's something happening online which you need to investigate because probably they're being bullied or they're bullying other children. And also right now, even with online learning, our children know how to mute their microphones, they know how to mute their cameras, and then they're opening tabs. So if you realize that as you're approaching your child, they're either minimizing their tabs, there's something sneaky they're doing. So you need to start engaging them and monitoring, having engagement and then monitoring what they're doing. But mostly opening up the conversations to engagement. Because I keep saying that if I'm scared for my mother to see anything about myself online, it should probably not find itself there. And that's when, as a parent, you take that opportunity to actively talk about digital footprint. Because it's not about what they post only, it's about even the places that they go. So we need to start having that very deliberate conversations with them. I hope that helps that parent who has asked that question.
And I think, Evelyn, you also talked about Family Link.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So the Family Link actually helps you check the sites where they have been, the apps that they're visiting, and the kind of content that they're engaging with. And I think as parents, sometimes you will see things that will shock you, but that is your opportune time to start having conversations around content. But having the Family Link, especially parents who have children below the age of 13, where we need to be a bit more deliberate and to monitor what they're doing. We need to start engaging with parental control sites that will help us have that leverage. Because when we give them normal accounts that we cannot monitor, then we are not also helping ourselves. So if you have a child below 13, please engage them on having things like Family Link, because then you have control and at least you can monitor what they're doing. But as you're doing that and as they're growing, because they'll start hitting certain milestones, you need to start having conversations around the privacy settings they're putting on their social media platforms, what they're sharing. And I think next week we shall go into depth into checking the settings that you can actually put for them so that they're also not getting exposed without their knowledge. Yeah.
Thank you, Evelyn. Could you kindly elaborate more on some of those wonderful features Family Link has that prevent or ask for permission for a parent before something is installed? It sounded very interesting. Some of those features
yes.
that app has so that it can control before even, the child has even access. Thank you.
Well, that is actually something very good. So the Family Link is something that I personally use, which is an amazing tool. And I thank Google because they took the time to create something specific for the children. Now, one of the things that it gives the parent permission to set and block sites. So you can actually put passwords. First and foremost, you can put passwords for your children, and then you can whitelist or blacklist the sites that you feel you do not want your children to access. And then, as a parent, you become the caretaker of your child's account until you feel that they're of age now to control their own account. And this is actually enabled by having that activated Family Link manager, where the parent is the authorization and the child is like a user. Just the way in a computer you have admin and then you have users. So in this case, the child has an email account. However, the parent is the admin and the child is just a user. So you can set those different things for your child so that they are not accessing things that you feel are not conducive for them, and it will help you control. And so the control settings here would be blacklisting, whitelisting sites. So blacklisting is actually blocking, then whitelisting is accepting. And then you can set for them the screen time, which is something very important. You can imagine you have a 6-year-old and they don't know how to tell time. So at that point, you will put for them in their phone that they can access the internet at a certain time, and you can switch it off. You can give them an extension. As a parent, you're given that liberty. And also, you are able to start monitoring the conversations that they have. So if your child is on certain sites and you feel that you need to have a conversation about that site, at least from the settings and the report, because you get a report at the end of the day as a parent, you're able to start asking them, what are you doing on this site? If it is a gaming site or a social media site, whom are you playing with? And then it opens up conversation, because at least from the dashboard, from the parent's account, you're able to monitor activity. And then at least now that opens up the opportunity to have deliberate conversation. So the Family Link is actually a very, very good site. And when your child wants to start downloading things from App Store, it actually has to request the parent to accept. So if the parent says no, that download will not happen. So that's also a very good plus for us as parents, and especially because right now our children are downloading all manner of games on their phones. So at least that also helps control the kind of things that they're downloading to their phones. So I hope, Alex, that really
Thank you
really
very
helps
much. It was wonderful. Thank you, Evelyn. I also applaud you like
Thank
CEO did. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think
Are there
there's
any questions?
You want to take a final question? I can see one that popped up. Which can a parent introduce a child to online platform?
I think for me, I will answer that question in two parts. At what point in Kenya is it mandatory for us to give our children our cars to drive? That is already set. That is 18. The set limit is 18. However, when it comes to online platforms, just the way you have different things that are already preset by different institutions or organizations, for me, online platforms will be what is the child doing. It is not about the parent, it's about the child. So if your child wants to be in a certain platform, engage them into what they want to do in those platforms, that then whatever answer they give you will give you the information to say yes or not now. I feel like I need to tell parents to stop telling children no without a reason. Because when you tell them no and you don't satisfy their curiosity, they will go to the ecosystem. Outside, they have friends with phones. Even inside your house, there's a home manager with a smartphone. So they will go circumvent the system and still open those platforms. So the answer would be, what is your child getting into? How are they using these platforms? And if you can see right now, very many platforms are creating child-friendly platforms where children can engage. Like Facebook, the other day, they launched Messenger for Kids, which now will also allow children between age 6 and 12 to be on Facebook Messenger, but also pinned into the parent's account. Family Link is actually an amazing place. So we need to be able to engage them. And as a parent also, alternatives for them. And that will mean you getting out of your comfort zone to start researching on what is out there, and then try to see what appropriateness or what values are these platforms giving to your children before you accept. However, don't say no, because if you do, your children will go out of your jurisdiction and they will still get into these platforms without your knowledge. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's it for the questions.
Mm-hmm. So I think we have posted on our different platforms a feedback form, which would really appreciate your feedback from this session. And then we are hoping to engage you in a deeper conversation next week on family-friendly content and also security and privacy, which I know is something that you'll really be interested in having. So please don't miss next week's session and engage us in your feedback. And we would love to continue engaging with you on different social media platforms, even after this webinar. So I will hand over the meeting to Michael. Michael, you will help us. Thank you so much, guys.
Is this my part? If Nelly or Emma, you're still there, I think you are going to take, one of you is going to take the vote of thanks, but I'll take it anyhow. It's not much anyway. It's just to say thank you so much to Evelyn. Let me start my video. Thank you so much to Evelyn for this, to the second session. That should be next week, right? Same time. And thank you so much to KFCB for hosting us. Nelly, did you want to make some closing statements? Yeah, anyhow, I really want to thank also Dr. Ezekiel Mutua and your team for gracing this occasion and for your great opening remarks. And to thank Mr. Alex Kakuru, our lead trainer and our lead for Google's online safety training in Kenya, for helping to entrench this program and to drive these partnerships and these trainings. I think with that, I'll just say we'll close, and we look forward to your feedback on the questionnaire and to connecting with everybody next week, same time, same place, for what is going to be an even more exciting session too. Unless somebody has something to say, I'll just maybe I should hand over back to Emma, who looks like she's got something to say. Thanks.
Oh, thank you very much, all the participants.
To find out because my
the parents.
Still here, just in case.
Oh, okay. Nelly's back. Nelly, just carry on. Nelly, we've lost you.
Emma, I think you are doing well. Just proceed. Let's just close.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming on board. We have loved the interaction, and especially the questions that you've posted on our Facebook accounts or YouTube and Twitter, and even those who are on Zoom. We want to thank everyone, and we look forward to having you again next Sunday for the continuation of this, as Evelyn and Michael have said. And we want to wish you a good evening, and God bless you so much. Unless you want to say something?
Just to request, if Evelyn can just give direction. There are still people who are following and asking more questions, so you can just indicate the platforms or how they can reach you. I wish Alex, we would have wanted to hear your voice. Of course, we heard you when you were thanking Evelyn. And if we can just give a sense of, because they are parents, I am seeing friends of mine, even from my village, who are zooming in. So, and they are following up. There are people from South Africa who are following up. So I don't know, we are not capturing them here, but they are with us. There are thousands of people. So if you can tell them, where do they catch you or get you with questions? Let me indicate that I have posted my remarks on my Facebook page, and I hope they can be on the platforms that we share here. But if Evelyn and Alex can just give us a sense of where do people find you, because we cannot exhaust all the questions in this platform.
Thank you. I'll just quickly contribute there. Thank you very much, Dr. Mutua. What should happen for continuity for all the questions to be answered? Eveminet website is one that to be shared, so that all the questions are pulled there, and then they can be dealt with. Those she can deal with in between the week she can, and those ones that can be answered or need to be dealt with on Sunday in the next session, she will be more than happy to deal with them. So share that link, share it with everybody on this link, and you can share onwards to the other people who are online. And thank you so much, everyone, for having this wonderful interaction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think our website is www.eveminet.co.ke, eveminet.co.ke, and we are streaming live on Facebook on Eveminet KE. So if you can post your questions on the comment section, I will be very glad to answer them, each individual question.
Okay, Evelyn, we are also streaming live on the Kenya Film Classification Board, Facebook and YouTube, so people can follow us also on the same. We are also trending on, if you go on Twitter, we are also trending on a hashtag KFCB digital, Google digital parenting. So we are still there, we are live, and those who joined us late can watch from the beginning, because we shared any questions that come. Because we are collaborating with Evelyn, we will also be able to give back answers, and even to what CEO had shared, if there are any questions for him, please post them on
Nelly, we are losing
Facebook.
you.
page.
Okay.
And we shall continue them. Thank you. Oh.
I think we had a technical difficulty there. Mr. Mutua is speaking. Your microphone is muted, sir.
Oh, sorry. I was saying thank you very much, Michael, for this. Thank you, Evelyn. Thank you so much, Alex. To our colleagues, Nelly, Emma, and everybody who has made this possible, I want to thank you. We look forward to next week. We are bringing next week our directors. We are bringing in members of parliament. We are bringing in key stakeholders who are not able to join in today. I think some of them got the timing wrong. And we have also partners from the United States, some Kenyans. There's a friend of ours who was a presidential candidate in Kenya, who is based in Washington, D.C. So next week will be very interactive and very interesting. And all of these guys will be having questions and comments. And I hope we can utilize the time in a way that even selected parents from the villages across Kenya and everywhere will also be able to ask their questions live. Thank you very much. Have a good evening. God bless you. It was a pleasure having you on this session. And everybody who came, we say a big thank you. May God bless you.